Hey guys, Chelsea here. Now in this video, I'm going to be talking about something which I don't think really gets talked about too often, and that is basically looking at the last three campaigns, so Berlin, Tunisia and Stalingrad, and looking at what they've actually added, and more to the point, how excited I am with them being added. Now, to my count, there's a few things. For Berlin, there is only one thing, which is Armoured Train game mode. For Tunisia, there's two, which is Digging and Motorcycle Squads. And for Stalingrad, there's actually quite a handful, and that is TNT charges, bolt actions, baths, the SMG and the LMG Nerfs, the the medic squad, the buildings, the Flamethrower Tanks, and also one other thing. There's also the bombing run. So those are the ones I'm going to be talking about for Stalingrad. A lot to talk about for Stalingrad. Not really much to talk about for Berlin and Tunisia, but yeah. Anyways, let us begin with Berlin. So for Berlin, this is the easiest one. It's going to be looking at a custom game mode in Berlin, only in Berlin, and that is, of course, Armoured Train. Now, Armoured Train, as of now, comes in two flavours. You have Cucked Armoured Train and True Armoured Train. Now, I'm joking. These are still a lot of fun, but basically, Armoured Train Escort is only in the Berlin campaign. If I just to show you, if I go into every other campaign, yeah, you can see it's only Railway Bridge, Station here, and Silo Heights, full Silo Heights. Now, as you know, these are the station here is the first part of Silo Heights. The Railway Bridge is the second part of Silo Heights, and Silo Heights is the full uncut, unneutered, true chaos map. So yeah, and as of right now, it came in Armoured Train, obviously, which was 2 updates back. Well, 3 if you count the weapon change update, but that was really more of a minor update. But yeah, it's only in Berlin, and you can see that even in the last update, they changed it so that the railway bridge and station were given just that. As of right now, I think that Silo Heights might be the if they do it like railway bridge and station, I think they would have peaked with the game mode of Silo Heights. But if they do it like Silo Heights, so like let's say they have this full map, but then you have 2 other maps which are Armoured Train. So like, for example, let's say you go through, I don't know, what's a map that can go through each other? Le Brie and D-Day, I guess, I don't know. Or D-Day and Le Brie, I don't know. Something like that. What? Now, or just make a whole new map like they did for Silo. Now, obviously, if they did this, they would have to split it up between the 2, game modes, or they would have to make small maps and smaller Armoured Train and Silo. Honestly, I think that the best solution would be the solution I have at the moment. So they make a massive map with Silo Heights, but restrict it to customs, and then they have like railway bridge and station like they have here, or they do it so like they say fuck these because these are actually worse than Silo, because Silo is just a lot of fun, and just add the full map. Now, as of right now, the only real campaign that will make really a lot of sense in is Tunisia and Moscow. It wouldn't really make too much sense to put it in Stalingrad. It wouldn't make any sense to put it in Normandy, really. And let's face it, Stalingrad has absolutely no maps. So, well, has one map. Yeah. Other than that, like, that was really all I can think about for Berlin. Because, well, obviously Destruction was added in Tunisia. I'm not going to talk about Destruction because it's actually in other campaigns. You can see Bramov, you can see Omir, Communistry, and Pskovo Village, and Pskov, whatever the hell city, not Pskovo. But yeah, that's another thing. I'm not going to be talking about Destruction and this, so yeah. Anyways, let's move on to the first part about Tunisia. The first thing we're going to talk about Tunisia is probably the most boring one. It's digging. Yeah, honestly, digging was something that looked interesting when it first came out, but really, it's not been too well implemented. Now, the problem with digging is the combat goes way too fast. And so basically, if this was something like, say, HLL or Proscriptum, digging would be so much better than it already is. However, Enlisted is not HLL. It is not Proscriptum. And basically, there's no real reason to fortify up a point like digging foxholes or digging, you know, tank ditches and stuff like that, because it takes way too long. Yeah, really, there's not much to say about digging. It takes too long, and yeah, that's all I have to say. Can't really say any more. Anyways, let's move on to the next Tunisia feature. Tunisia feature actually is in the campaign of I have to say I've used these a couple times by literally just leaping on them, but it's gonna be the machine gun the armored motorbike squads. Now, at the moment there is a motorbike squad and a squad for the other thing. Now, just for reference to show how much they have, they even include bike squads in, like, for example, in Normandy, they include bike squads here. With Tunisia, you have 2 bike squads. So, for the Allies, you get one at level 21, which is the WLA, which has an MG 19, which has it has a 1919 A4 on it, which is alright. The Axis get, I believe, a MG 34. I believe it is a 34. I'll double check. Yeah, it is a 34. Yeah, it's a pretty decent. They're decent, but they're not the best. And obviously, with the pre-order vehicles were these. Now, this one has a Bren on it, and it's 3 people. It's actually 3 people. So you have an engineer. So basically, you have an engineer at the back of here, but you also have the gunner here on the Bren. And for the Axis, they have another MG34, really loud one, and it's basically the exact same. Honestly, I would say this would be an interest. These would be interesting to see in other campaigns, because if you don't know, they're not the best. They're not that good, but they're fun to use. Okay, when you see a motorbike just in Tunisia, it's just so much fun to jump on one and then just dick around. Okay, I'm just gonna say they're fun to dick around on, but that's about it. So should they get added? Nah, it's kind of like a mix. Unlike Armoured Train, which I think, should get added, and unlike Shovels, which probably should stay with Tunisia, these were a maybe. So basically I should say that stuff like, Armoured Train should be definitely added to other campaigns. Something like the Shovels really shouldn't. Something like the motorbike squads, maybe in later, but they shouldn't be a priority in a way. So, yeah. Motorbike squads, they're fine. If they get added in the next update, whoop-de-doo, it's a motorbike squad. It'll be fun. It'll be meme-y. Let's just say that. It'll be a meme to use one of these things. Anyways, let's move on to the first of many Stalingrad changes. So Stalingrad had a lot of changes that got added, and I generally did not know where to begin. So from like I said in the intro, there was a lot to go on. There was the Mannlicher M39, or not the Mannlicher M39. I'm just gonna say the bolt action buff. There was the SMG and LMG nerfs. There was the TNT charge. There is the Flamethrower Tanks. There is also the medic squad. There is the radio squad having a unique upgrade. And there's also the engineer squad having its unique upgrade. But there's also something else I thought about, which I'll talk about later. But yeah, that'll be the final one. But the first one, let's start with a good one. And that is the armor. And that is the the buff to bolt actions. Now, if you don't know, bolt action rifles are much better in Stalingrad. They actually do a lot more damage in Stalingrad. You can see here, they do 14 damage here. I believe they do 12 on other campaigns. Like, not 12, they do 14, but they're more consistent on Stalingrad. For some reason, they're much more consistent on Stalingrad, and they do a lot more damage on Stalingrad. Like, you even look at the Stalingrad ones, the M39 here, no, not 93, I mean, not 39, 93. It actually does a little bit more damage than what it is, than the others, and obviously, of course, you do get stuff like the Gavir 43 and later the ZH29, but yeah, even in the Soviets, you get the Mosin here, which 15 damage, and the Carbine obviously 13. The Winchester, of course, 15 damage, which basically is probably one of the most powerful bolt actions in the game. So yeah, the Soviets definitely have a more powerful bolt action than the Axis. But yeah, and this thing, by the way, this will one-shot you even with the Vitality perk. This one-shots even with the Vitality perk. That's the thing with the new update with Stalingrad. They actually do a lot more damage. So, if this change should appear in other campaigns, a hard yes. Seriously, like, bolt actions, they're fun to use. I like bolt actions. But, man, compared to other campaigns don't really have much in comparison to the, when you get to a semi-auto, it's an upgrade and you replace them immediately. But in Stalingrad, you use, semi-auto, bolt actions and lever actions are still good picks, even in the late game. Even when you unlock the SVT 40 and the SVT 38, you can still probably use the Winchester over them. Anyways, let's move to the next pick. Here's probably one a little bit more controversial, and that is the changes to the SMGs and HMGs. Now, I've done some small testing with that SMGs. They feel a lot different in Stalingrad than they do in the other campaigns. But critically, there is one other change which is big, in my opinion, and that's the LMG change. Now, LMGs basically take stamina, and I think the anti-tank rifles do as well. But basically, they take more stamina than normal to which I think is a big problem, because LMGs are really just a lot of fun to use, and they're one of the more powerful weapons in the game, especially something like the MG13. I think one of my Lewis in my comments, he actually was commenting about the MG13 and why I was praising it so much, and without realizing that I was praising the Moscow MG13 and not, because apparently the MG13 in Stalingrad is actually worse than the Moscow version. So yeah, I don't know if they've tweaked out the LMGs a bit. I know they did have that change where they said, oh, we're going to increase the reduce the effectiveness of SMGs and LMGs, but yeah, so that's the second thing on Stalingrad, just a nerf to the LMGs and SMGs. Personally, this is a no for me. I think the LMGs and SMGs are they're my favourite weapons in the game, so obviously I'm going to be heavily against them, but yeah, not the best. Anyway, let's move on to the next change. The next change I can't really show you too much, but oh well, I'll just hover over engineers. But it's the glass mortar, and the glass mortar, it's kind of like a maybe. I'd say it's kind of like the same vein as motorbikes. It's a maybe thing. If you use it, it's fine, but there's other more important things to build with an engineer, such as the rally points, which, by the way, you should always build. Seriously, build rally points, otherwise you'll get players like me screaming at you. Anyways, not really much to say. I mean, engineers are pretty solid, so yeah, not really much to say about here. It's okay, but it's not golden. Anyways, let's move on to the next thing. Next class I'll go to talk about is the medic class. Now, the medics are definitely one of the more interesting things added to Stalingrad. Now, if you don't know, when medics, they were not to level 2, so they take up the assaulters. And they actually have a unique skill tree where you can only recruit medics. And of course you have to use these to get the Drellin and the MP28 Max. And really they're basically just assaulters, but slightly different. So it means that you can actually get an assaulter and a machine gunner in the same squad, which is some pros. And they also have a unique mechanic where they can heal, which is actually a good way to get XP, by the way. The medical bag is a good way to get XP. But there's some limitations. One, they can't use... because of the medic bag, you can't actually use stuff like the... first off, you can't use a secondary weapon. And you cannot use a medic bag. You can't use a backpack, which is something that assaulters could use either one or the other. Like, people would either run large backpacks like I'm doing here, or they will run large ammo pouches, which I've seen people use. Like, I use that in Berlin, for example. Let's just show up my MP4, my PPD squads. I use ammo pouches on these guys because, well, ammo pouches are better for a PPD rather than something like a, I don't know, not PPSH, other weapons. And in, where is the campaign? And of course in Normandy, I've seen people run, you know, the MP43 and then run something like the Beretta M1918 for close range, or the MP40, or the FNAB. I mean, idiots run the FNAB, but, you know, I've seen people run these kind of things. Which, I mean, it's fine. That's fine, I guess, but, yeah. Stalingrad, on the other hand, with the medics, they can't do that, but on the back end, they can run PPSHs. That is a really good looking PPSH, though. Or it's a 717 if we're being pedantic. But yeah, I think it's, you know, pretty interesting. You know, the medics, I think they're interesting. I would love to see these in other campaigns. So, because I think they encourage more teamwork than other squads in the game. Kind of like engineers. I would like to see these, but again, I don't know how they'll be implemented in the other campaigns, so we'll have to wait and see. Anyways, let's move on to the next change. The next change is something I'm really strongly against, and that is bombing runs. I'm just going to say it. Remove this from the game. Actually, remove this from the game. I don't care. Remove this from the game. Do not add this to any other campaign. Do not add this at all to anything. Now, the reason I say this is because bombing runs are overpowered as fuck. Now, normally, I don't care if something is powerful. For example, I use the P47 unironically. Like, I use the P47 for fuck's sake. I don't care if something's overpowered. I do stuff like this. You know, oh, went wrong squad. I do stuff like this, okay? Now, that is powerful. Don't get me wrong. 7 FG42s, potential of 9, plus a Gavir 43 Kurt, and an MG34 with the drum. That is dirty powerful. I do stuff like that, and I'm not ashamed of it. But, but even this is just, no. It's too far. Like, the thing is, you know, people think, oh, rifle grenades are overpowered. Oh, and they are powerful. Don't get me wrong. Oh, PPSH or MP43 or, you know, other spammy weapons, they're overpowered. But here's the thing with them, right? They have some kind of disadvantage over it. For example, the rifle grenades. They are, again, expensive. And, critically, you only have 3 shots with these. So, yeah, you can spam the shit out of them, but, you know, something like, say, the M2 Carbine, or Thompson, or MP43, or PPSH, or FG42 spam, even those have counterpart. Even something as overpowered as the FG42 has a counter, you know, its cost. So you have to really be, you know, you actually have to save up to have that. What counter does bombing runs have? Tell me. I can exactly tell you, it has no counter. Because the bombing runs are overpowered. And not in the case of, oh, you know, Axis suffers, you know, this is overpowered, even though it actually isn't overpowered. Like the Jumbo, for example, which is powerful but not overpowered, or the Thompson, or the M2 Carbine, or even the MP43. What does the squad, the rifle, the signal squad, what does this division have with the radio operators, with the bombing run? What is stopping people from spamming this? Literally hiding in a part of the map and then spamming bombing runs for the end of the map. Nothing. Nothing is stopping them. It is literally the most overpowered ability in this game. And personally, like, I know I said, you know, these things should be added to another campaign. They should be, you know, they shouldn't be added. They might, you know, they could be added, but a late thing. This should not be added to another campaign. And more to the point, it should be removed from the game. It is overpowered without a counter. This makes the red rain of the HE buff. If you remember the HE buffed, was it the red rain with the HE buff for Arty? This is more overpowered than that. Yes, I would say this is actually the most overpowered thing in the game. Like, this thing is... If you remember in Modern Warfare 3, with the Stealth Bomber, people called it the no-skill multi-kill. This is literally the Stealth Bomber from Modern Warfare 3. Only even more brain dead. Like, the Stealth Bomber was already brain dead OP because you literally could... You just needed to get 13 kills and you got it. Right? This, you don't even need a kill. You literally just need to be level 9, which, by the way, if you pay, that's 2 matches. You pay, you know, you get to level 9 almost instantly. So literally you could just pay for the game, third match, get this squad leveled up, bang, you have arguably the most overpowered thing in the entire universe at your fingertips. Honestly, there's a reason why when I play custom matches, like, I generally I try to not put Stalingrad on custom matches. And why I'm hesitant to join Stalingrad matches, I had here because I was actually with people who wanted Stalingrad. But usually I run the base 4 campaigns because of this. And generally it is the most overpowered tactic in the game. Honestly, I would rather have 4 people in the air at the same time with P-47s than having to deal with that bullshit. Because at least the P-47, you know, there's counters to it. You know, you can fly a plane to counter them. With that, you can fly a plane to try and counter it, and they'll shoot you out the sky. And you get shot out the sky, and your team will get slaughtered on the ground. No counter to it. Should not be in the game. Shouldn't have even been implemented, in my opinion. Rant over. Let's continue with the last 2 things, which is Flamethrower Tanks and the thing I haven't even mentioned yet. Okay, I can tone down the rage within now. Let's talk about flamethrowers. Now, the flamethrower tanks, you can see here, it's the Panzer IIF and the HT-130, aka the vodka thrower, as I call it. But yeah, honestly, not really much to say about these. They have the flamethrowers, obviously, which are good at dealing with infantry. I think the Panzer IIF is much better because it has the dual flame projectors. Yeah, it has 2 flamethrowers rather than 1 with the vodka thrower. But honestly, I think this is a maybe, actually. I generally think this is a maybe. This is like on the same category as stuff like the flame mortar or the motorbike squads. Interesting side grade and interesting to have it, but you know, not essential. Anyways, let's move on to my final gripe, or final thing, which I actually haven't talked about yet, so let's talk about that. Coming in for my final thing about Stalingrad. Now, there was a lot about Stalingrad, to be honest. But, honestly, I'm just going to scroll through the campaign, and let's just say, what can you notice about the campaign in Stalingrad, which I'm just going to keep scrolling. I'm going to scroll for the allies as well. What can you notice between this campaign and other campaigns? There's something different here. Can you notice it? If you haven't noticed it, if you have noticed it, obviously, you know, well done. It wasn't hard, but if you haven't noticed it, let's show you Tunisia. Let's show you Tunisia allies. Now, can you notice it? I'm scrolling through it. Honestly, I'll just scroll to the end. It doesn't really matter. Honestly, it's quite easy to notice. Have you noticed it? Well, here's what it is. All of these, it doesn't matter what. I haven't bought anything on Tunisia. Like, I haven't bought anything on Tunisia. I haven't bought any premium squads or anything. And I can unlock everything from level 1 to level 32. The same goes with Moscow. The same goes with Normandy. In fact, in Normandy, I have everything. But, as you can see here, no premium squads. As you can see, these are all unlocked squads. The same goes with Berlin. In fact, for the Soviets, just for reference, I have no unlocked squads. And I've got unlocked everything. And I can buy any... And, you can see here, I can unlock anything. The same goes with Tunisia, like I said. But with Stalingrad, well, let's have a look. I can't use the Drellin unless I buy it. I can't use the Panzer IV yen unless I buy it. I can't use the Stuka unless I buy it. And so on and so forth. Personally, and that's the thing with Stalingrad. The trial version. And that was the thing I'm talking about. You can see here, you can see here, you know, they get the bonus disc. You can you also get unique universal squad slots, and you also get access to the weapons. Now, personally, this is what I think they should do, because I think this is a maybe. First thing, if they do ever do this again, do not lock weapons behind the paywall again. Unless it's something like, say, I don't know, mortars, which no one's ever going to use, or shotguns, which most people don't use, or maybe plain twos, because, again, most people aren't going to use them. But locking away stuff like the MG30, the MG42, the Kurali, the MKB, you know, and stuff like the, you know, other weapons like the Thompson, the T-34, both T-34s, in fact, the AVT, you know, which are weapons that most people use in the campaign. You know, they're top tier weapons. Locking them behind the paywall, and even some of the weapons like the Kurali. The Kurali is the only weapon really that is unique to this, which is new, added to the campaign. You know, Kurali is the only one. Obviously, of course, it's in Moscow, but I'm not counting that because it was, you know, announced as a announced weapon for Stalingrad. But yeah, the Kurali, you know, it's a unique weapon, you know, for Stalingrad, and it's locked behind the paywall. Everything else, you know, it's locked behind the paywall, and it's like, why? Which is one of the reasons why many people have a problem with Stalingrad. Is that many of its content is locked behind its paywall, and that's a problem. Like, I think, like, if you look at the perks as well as the paywall, you know, you get 4 times XP. Yeah, that's kind of a bit of a grey area, but, I mean, if you have this, the squads, the premium squads, and this, so, like, you get guaranteed soldiers at level 4 and, you know, weapons at, you know, below, you know, at, like, 3 stars for basic weapons, or 4 stars for these, and 5 stars for later weapons. You know, maybe that'll be fine, and, like, 4 5-star soldiers. You know, that would be fine. But locking weapons behind the and of course a premium squad, you know, that would be okay. But locking weapons behind the paywall is really going too far, in my opinion. Now, which is actually one of the reasons why I don't like Stalingrad and why I'd advise people not to play Stalingrad, especially new players, because, well, you're basically you have to buy full access in order to unlock everything. Anyways, there's not really much to say about this because I've already covered it. Personally, this is probably on the maybe category of, if they do it like the, all of the things other than the locking content behind the paywall, then yeah, it'll be, that'll be fine for later campaigns. But locking entire content behind the paywall, really, I prefer stuff like Tunisia or Normandy, where it's humongous grind walls, rather than having to, grind a lot and maybe, like, I joked when I was grinding that I got no level ups when I was getting stuff like the BF110 or BF109 or the Fokker Wolf, because I'd never used them, right? But here, in Stalingrad, there is legitimate level ups where, because I'm not going to pay for this, and I never will pay for this, they are legitimately not worth it. This is legitimately a level up which I get nothing from. In fact, you know what? I probably will get something from it because I can probably transfer over my 50-old Drellins, whatever the hell. Do I have in Drellin? I have one Drellin and Drellin in, because I scrapped the other one because I got these from bronze boxes. I scrapped a few of them when the update came out. But yeah, maybe that's the only thing I can do, is that I can transfer over a Drellin. But that's it. Like, why? Like, I generally think, this... So, like I said, if this was, all weapons were available on Access, and the trial version, and the paid version came with the Flamethrower Tanks, and these stuff, so the XP, the soldiers maybe, like the cheaper soldiers, and the squad slots, then, yeah, that'd be fine. But, normally, no. Anyways, I'm going to end the video here. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Leave your thoughts in the comments. What you guys think about, what you guys think about the these features I've mentioned. Should they get added? Should they not? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video.